Okay, Mr. Chairman, we are now live. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Neil. Welcome to the virtual meeting of the Major Application Planning Committee of the London Borough of Hillingdon. This is a virtual meeting. It's also being broadcast simultaneously on the Council's YouTube channel, Hillingdon London. My name is Councillor Henry Higgins, and I'm the chairman for this meeting. We'll do some online housekeeping, please. Can people ensure that their mobile phones are around them are on silent or off? If wearing a headset, ensure your microphone is away from your mouth to avoid noise. Please keep the microphone muted where not speaking, and then unmute to speak. Only one person may speak at a time, and as the chairman, I will call those to speak. You have your raised hands on your computers at the top there. If you indicate that when you want to speak, and then I'll come to you in order. Before we go, we'll have an attendance roll call. Councillor Tuckwell, my vice chairman.
Yeah, good evening, Chairman. I am present.
Thank you. Councillor Chapman.
Good evening, Chairman. Yes, I'm present.
Councillor Duncan.
Good evening, Chairman. I'm present.
Councillor Hagger.
Good evening, Chairman. I am present.
Councillor Melvin.
Good evening, Chairman. I'm present.
Councillor Morgan.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I'm present.
Councillor Morse, my opposite lead.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I am present.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Sansapori.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I am present.
Thank you very much. Also, I'd like to, can I, officers present indicate them of the meeting? Planning Officer Mandip Mahara.
Present, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Zinab Hal Islami.
She's not attending, Chairman.
She's not joining. Councillor, Head of Planning James Rogers.
Yes, I'm present, Chairman.
I just promoted you a minute ago. Transport Officer Alan Tilley.
Good evening, Chairman. I'm present.
Thank you. Legal Advisor Glenn Egan.
Good evening, Chairman. I'm present.
And obviously the person that I can't do this meeting without, the Democratic Service Officer Neil Fraser.
Present, Chairman.
Thank you very much. In terms of the technical meeting and control of the council, if any councillor leaves the virtual meeting partway through for a period of time, e.g. lost connection, I will continue the meeting unless we are not quorate, which is if I have less than 3 councillors. Importantly, any councillor who does leave the meeting for a period of time will not be able to vote on that item when not present. Neil, can I have apologies for absence, please?
All members are present, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Can I have a declaration, any declarations of interest in the meeting coming before me?
Chairman, I know it's slightly unusual for an officer to give a declaration, but I have involvement with Cranford Park and the Heritage Lottery Fund bid concerning the park, so I won't be. I will leave the meeting before the last item is heard.
Okay,
you, Chairman.
I'd like to say you get away, but actually you're here later, aren't you, for the North? So you're not getting anywhere. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, James. Do we agree the meetings of the minutes of the last meeting? I'll count. If I say anybody wants to speak that has it's not right, then that's fine. Otherwise, your silence will be golden. Your silence is golden, so we'll move on. Matters notified in advance are urgent are item 6, which is being withdrawn, and item 11, the correct plan should be circulated to you. To confirm, public and private reports, all part 1 are in public. We'll go straight in to the agenda, which is obviously item 6 has been withdrawn. So we are going straight to item 7, which is the former Nestle factory and Nestles Avenue. Mandip, would you like to give your presentation, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Item 7 is the former Nestle factory site on Nestles Avenue. The application site outlined in red, so the wider Nestle factory redevelopment site.
We've lost your microphone, Mandip.
Sorry, Councillor Higgins.
That's better. That's it. Sorry.
This is the constraints plan. So you'll recall from the original application where we granted consent for the redevelopment of the site, there are locally listed buildings on the premises. So we have retained the facade of this main building, which was the former factory. This is the canteen building, which is also locally listed. So it's not listed as set out in the summary on page 113. That it should have said locally listed. And it's the locally listed canteen building that is the content of this planning application. The locally listed building was retained as part of the wider redevelopment of the application site, so for the residential arm and then the commercial. However, there are no current plans to do any works on this building as yet, and the building has fallen into a state of it was already in a state of disrepair at planning application stage when we were redeveloping the site. There's now a need to replace the roofing on the building. So there's a proposal that's before us today, which is for the temporary roofing cover and associated work. So there are some guttering that's also going to be replaced on this locally listed building. I think the most useful plans to show you are, because essentially you can't tell the difference in the building form, and these are some sections within your plan pack. But this is an image which shows the locally listed building. So this is the facade along Nestles Avenue, and this is the facade along the new internal road that's been created. So this part of the roof has already been removed, but the temporary works are for guttering, replacement works along the flat area, and replacement of this area that's hatched in blue, which is the metal sheeting that's being replaced on the building. So there are some photographs which probably better demonstrate where we are. So the application site is virtually derelict and under construction at present, and this area that I'm circling at the moment is the canteen building. So this is an aerial view which helps to demonstrate what is proposed. So it's predominantly this area of the main hall of the roofing that will be replaced for a temporary period of 2 years. That will enable the building to become more watertight and safer for us to look at the redevelopment of the site. This is the internal roof of the building. And what we're seeking to do through this application is temporarily grant permission, apologies, I've gone too far, temporarily grant permission for the works to the canteen building roof only for a period of 24 months. It is a locally listed building, so we do want to see full proposals for its reuse and redevelopment. But we just need to give a short period of time for those proposals to come together. The application is recommended for approval. I will hand back to you, Councillor Higgins.
Thank you very much. Yes, let's see. Councillor Tuckwell.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the presentation. I don't have any issues with this application, but I do have a question. I'm looking at the sort of the proposed scheme and the list of works that are being carried out on page 117, and I suppose my question is, there's quite an extensive amount of work that's going on. Do any of these need to be included as a condition? I'm particularly looking at where there's asbestos listed and whether there's anything that sort of needs to be included as part of that. And other than that, I'm happy with the scheme and happy to move officer's recommendation, but obviously taking into account other members' comments.
Thank you very much. Councillor Duncan, I'm led to believe. Councillor Duncan?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. No, I don't have any problem with it, and I'm happy to second it. But my question is, as we've seen on sites before, sometimes there's something that we want to save. It's usually easier if it is statutorily listed, but if it's locally listed, and even if it's statutorily listed, sometimes it's taken an awful long time for work to commence on that. And I wonder what safeguards we have about this. I mean, I know we're, hopefully approving this tonight to protect the building, but I thought there were plans that came in about the future community use of this building or something connected with community uses when we originally approved it. And I just would hate to see all the commercial money generating part of the site go ahead, which I know it has to sort of pay for things, but then this, falls away. And we did grant this with a higher density than is normally permitted here. It was strategic industrial land, and we hope to gain benefits from that. So there were several concessions, I feel, that were made in the overall approval of this scheme, and I would just like to be more assured, what the legal or conditional protections are that we already have in planning regarding the future of this building, because we do want to keep it, and that's why it's locally listed. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Mandip or James, do you want to come back on that?
I'd quite happily come back on both councillor points,
please,
Chairman. So the first point, the asbestos is covered in informative number 6, or towards the top of page 116. So we've covered that. And on the point raised by Councillor Duncan, the planning permission has conditions which require community use. The applicant is not applying to vary those. So okay. I have some awareness, but I'm not going to go into it now, I'm afraid, because it relates to pre-app regarding community use. But there is not any discussions I'm aware of regarding anything other than community use. So I think if I put it that way round, it's probably the best way of me trying to answer Councillor Duncan's question without going too far off piste, as it were. But I think the simple answer is that nobody's trying to vary the conditions that required the uses that I know were supported by committee that did not involve, for instance, a residential use of the canteen building. So I think that's the simplest sort of answer I could give, and apologies if it's quite a simple one.
No, I think it's really good, James. I think that covers it. And it's like, I think that was Janet was in making sure that it's still going to be, and big business is not taking it away from us like the football. Anyway, but I hope that it answers your question. Councillor Morse.
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Morse, do you wish to add anything, or has everything been said?
Sorry. Yeah, no, Mr. Chairman, all I wanted to say is this is long overdue, and I'll second officer's recommendation.
I think Janet beat you to that. But,
oh, did she? Okay.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. You lost that one that time.
Okay.
The only thing as a chair, I suppose I'm not usually meant to say anything now. I'm meant to just go to the vote. I hope Neil will forgive me. The guttering, is that on the inside or the outer side of the building? And is that going to be the correct guttering for a listed building? That's the only thing I will say.
The guttering replacement is on the exterior of the building. It won't be heritage style guttering, because it's only a temporary proposal for whatever will then be.
As long as we can make a note on that it will then revert to heritage type guttering. That's my only point on that. I hope I haven't overstepped the mark. I'll go straight to the vote. Councillor Tuckwell proposed. Councillor Chapman.
Thank you, Chairman. Happy to go with the officer's recommendation.
Okay, Councillor Duncan seconding. Councillor Hagger.
Yes, for, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Melvin.
Yes, for, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Councillor Morgan.
For, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Morse.
For officer's recommendation, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Sensipori.
For, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Now we have another temporary item 8, which is West London composting.
Sorry to interrupt, Councillor Higgins. Can you just?
Oh, sorry. Beg your
pardon.
Beg
the benefit of the viewers, can you just confirm that is indeed approved?
Beg your pardon. It's all been agreed. We have everybody agreeing. Sorry, Neil.
Thank you.
Beg your pardon. So that's a full house. Okay, so we go on to item 8, which is West London composting. Mandip, would you like to take us out on this one, please?
Thank you, Chairman. West London composting has temporary planning permission for use to handle 75,000 tonnes per annum of organic waste. Now, we gave temporary planning permission on this site in 2015 as a result of COVID, they are applying to extend the time frame for having their temporary permission for 1 single year from the date that we grant permission today or tomorrow when the decision is released. So at the moment there is a temporary permission for the use of the site to the north and the south of New Year's Green Lane. If I go back a slide, it might be more useful. So it's land to the north and the south of the New Year's Green Lane area. I've got some site photographs of the site at present. So there's a small road that connects the two parcels of land, north and south. This is the facility itself, and some of the images of land to the south. This is some of the application site. Now the applicants are only applying for a 1-year temporary permission because they are looking at putting in place a full planning application for retention of the works long term. That application has not come in as yet, and I know that there have been some concerns raised by residents and to possibly count yourselves insofar as the use of the site. Now, the temporary permission is only allowing a temporary use to continue for a year's period of time. The full planning application that comes in due course, it's not with the councillors yet, will be the path through which we try to resolve some of those concerns that residents are raising about the current use of this facility. Namely, I believe it's smell and potentially vehicle movements. So thank you, Chairman. I'll hand back to you and I'll stop presenting.
Thank you very, very much, Randy. Well said. Well, I think it covered everything that us councillors are concerned about. Who's going to take me out? Councillor Tuckwell and Councillor Morse.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I hear what's been said about residents' concerns, and I'm sure that the committee that it goes to in the not too distant future, we hope will have a very good opportunity to scrutinise the concerns that are being raised by residents. But I also recognise that the application has been delayed somewhat with some of the reports that need to be provided to help the planning application because of the sort of global health emergency. So I recognise that we do need to get this one resolved for residents, but I'm also see no problems in granting a further year, but hopefully it will be done well within that. So I'm happy to move officer's recommendation on this one.
Thank you very much, Councillor Tuckle. Councillor Moore. Councillor Morse.
You're on mute there, Councillor Morse.
Apologies, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
My question is have we increased the amount of tonnage that can be done from 50,000 to 75,000, which appears to be the case? Just as this is on a sensitive aqua, has this been looked at? I just want to find out, are we increasing it, or was it previously at 75,000 tonnes?
Mandate, Paul, James, have anybody got information on that?
I'm just checking the description of development, and in 2015, when we granted permission, it did have a throughput of 75,000 tonnes. I apologise if the report is confusing and mentions 50,000.
Well spotted, John.
Well,
so, I'm sorry, Councillor. What was the second question?
No, it was the one in the hole, wasn't it, John?
I think so. Yeah. I'm not. I just want to. This, if it was approved originally with 75,000 tonnes, I'm completely happy, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Morse. Are you going to second that then? Or do I go somewhere else?
Yes, I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
There you go. You got him before Janet. There you go. Okay. With that, and no other questions being asked, I will go straight to the vote. Councillor Tuckwell proposed. Councillor Chapman.
Thank you, Chairman. Go with officer's recommendation.
Thank you very much. Councillor Duncan.
Yes, approved for a further year.
Thank you. Councillor Hagger.
Yes, for Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Melvin.
Yes, happy to go with that, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Morgan.
For Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And Councillor Morse seconded. Councillor Sensipuri.
For, Mr. Chairman.
Neil, that's unanimous. Everybody's voted for officer's recommendation. Item 8, is that agreed?
It's agreed, and so that application is approved, Chairman.
Thank you very much. We go to item 9, 1 to 8, former house, and item 10 is the same sort of thing, but I'll let officers explain that better than I can.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, items 9 and items 10 are both seeking variations to previously approved legal agreements. The variation that's sought, so the first one relates to 1 to 18 former house on 1 to 8 Park Road in Uxbridge, and the second application is land that was formerly released at Hillingdon Hospital. The application is seeking to utilise a new provision that the GLA have brought out, and it's called the mortgagee in possession clause. So I've taken an extract from the GLA practice note to try and give you some background for why this has come about. So the mortgagee in possession clause, which doesn't exist in lots of the historical legal agreements, would allow for or provide for circumstances where a registered provider defaults on loan payments. Now, I believe it's come to light that there are different ways in which different local authorities are doing this mortgagee in possession retrospectively to old permissions, hence the reason that the GLA have brought out a practice note and advised of more standardised wording to allow it to be implemented throughout various London boroughs, because we are all receiving multiple applications. So it's just a case of trying to standardise the approach that we're all taking in the event of the default by the original registered providers who are providing the affordable housing. Both applications are proposing to use the GLA template wording, and for that reason, both applications are recommended for approval. Now, Councillor Higgins, I don't know whether you want me to just make that recommendation for agenda item 9, and then we can come back to 10.
Yes, please do.
So the application is recommended for approval, and the only modification is to include this mortgagee in possession clause. I will hand back to Councillor Higgins.
Thank you very much. Councillors, I hope you all understand what that is. If anybody has anything, I would like to take, it's one of those things, who's going to propose it and second it, but I'd ask you to do both at the same time. So Councillor Tucker and Councillor Chapman.
Yeah, I'm happy to propose officers' recommendation and thank officers for their explanation on this technical amendment.
That's for 9 and you propose for 9 and 10.
9 and 10, yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Chapman.
Happy to second on both of them, Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Duncan, you put your you've taken it down now. That's fine.
Yeah, it was just a proposal second, Chairman. That's all.
Okay, thank you very, very much. So I will take the votes on both of them at the same time with the same people. Okay, so
no, Councillor Higgins, sorry, we'll have to do individual votes.
No, yeah, of course. Sorry, Neil.
Sorry.
Sorry. I know I make a lot of mistakes, but anyway, no, what we do is we do one at a time, but the same people proposed and seconded will be still called. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, fine. So, Councillor, item 9, Councillor Tuck will propose and Councillor Chapman seconded. Councillor Duncan.
Yes, for, Chairman.
Councillor Hagger.
Yes, for, Chairman.
Councillor Melvin.
Yes, for, Chairman.
Councillor Morgan.
For, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Morse.
For, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Sensipuri.
For, Mr. Chairman.
Neil, number 9 is fully approved.
Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Then we go to item 10. Councillor Tuck will propose. Councillor Chapman seconded. Councillor Duncan.
For, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Hagger.
For, Chairman.
Councillor Melvin.
For, Chairman.
Councillor Morgan.
For, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Morse.
For, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Sensipuri.
For, Mr. Chairman.
Neil, that's unanimous as well.
Agreed, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We go now to item 11.
Chairman, I'll leave the meeting now.
Yes, thank you, James. This is the former Sea Cadet site, Water Splash Lane. We had this with us a couple of times. And I just think if councillors remember, we did ask for this to come back by Secure by Design. I'll let Mandip present this for us first. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Higgins. Yes, this application is before us because we're seeking a change to the layout of the application site. So previously we granted permission for, when I say granted permission, you made a recommendation to approve the application. A decision was never released. And that was for the erection of 2 3-bedroom houses. Now, none of the units of accommodation have changed or moved based on the approved plan. Now, the additional works were proposed, construction of a 28 space car park. If I take you through the planning application drawings, now I do apologise that the wrong plan was in your plan pack, but the updated version was circulated yesterday. And if I stay on this plan and try and explain what has changed, so you'll see, I'm not sure if you'll recall, but previously there was one single vehicular entrance into the site. So by the site, I mean both the residential accommodation and the public car park. The residential parking was up in the top corner of the car park, and the remaining car parking spaces were for the users of Cranford Park. Secure by Design had obviously raised concerns. We had got to a stage where there was a complicated gate solution, lots of fencing, lots of lighting through the last application, but the estates team have actually come up with what does actually appear to be a better solution, and that's to provide a single vehicular access gate into dedicated car parking for the residential properties here, and a secondary vehicular access point which leads directly into the public car park here, and that's for use by the public car park or those that are using Cranford Park. Secure by Design and the Highways team have both recommended approval and actually consider that this layout is a better layout than had previously been approved. This also then allows for the public car park to be delivered independently of the residential property. So I am going to seek a verbal or a request that some of the conditions are separated into a condition for the car parking and then a condition for the homes. We wouldn't want one to stifle the other coming forward, because if we can, we would like to deliver the public car park as soon as possible, with the residential development coming on stream at a later date. So as long as we're all agreeable, the conditions as drafted would remain in essence the same, but maybe split into 2 sections. And that's purely to allow for the ease of implementation on either or both parts of the site. In all other respects, the application is the same. It's still delivering the same proposals and accordingly is recommended for approval. And I will hand back to the chairman.
Thank you, Mandip. Well, very well said. Okay, we have lots of hands up. Councillor Tuckwell.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for the update. I remember this application very well. I know there was some initial concerns from the committee last year, but I also remember that was much improved, and I think all of the committee were very happy with the amended plans that we approved. I think this is a further improvement that provides a dedicated residential parking space which doesn't encroach on the public car park. And again, I think that's very much to be welcomed, and I'm happy to move officer's recommendation. And I don't know how you want to play the bits around the conditions.
I'll do that when we sum up in a minute. Councillor Duncan.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'd like to second. I welcome this. But on condition 21, because we need to secure this parking for the residences, before there was a sliding gate off the main parkway, I think, with fob control. And I see that it says that there will be fob control for both gates. So that's welcomed, but can that be put to be maintained at all times? Because I think if it isn't, and I don't know who is going to maintain that, because there'll be 2 residences. Presumably it will have to be in the deeds when it's sold that there's some agreement about that, because otherwise if it gets a bit crowded on a sunny day, I can just see that there'll be people who will be pulling in there if they're able to. So I don't know if we may just need to put in a line that facility needs to be maintained at all times, because it will be part of the security, if you like, in the access arrangements for the residential properties.
Okay. Mandip, you've got your hand up. You need to come in. You're mute.
Yeah. Sorry, Councillor Duncan, we can amend the condition to say that it should be maintained for the life of the development. I forgot, I'm not sure if I mentioned that there's an addendum on this item, and I wanted to say that before we had to possibly bring this back for the 4th time. So there is an addendum. There have been a few additional neighbour objections received, and they are noted and referenced in your addendum report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mandip. Councillor Morse.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We seem to have got there in stages, and what people have to remember is we can only vote on what is presented before us. We can't actually provide them information, but I believe yet again this is a further improvement, and given the difficulties of this site we've had over 5-7 years, this is a substantial improvement on where we were. So I'm quite happy to support it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. I think the planners have got this right now, and I think we're all being part of that to get this over the line. I think that's well done to the committee. It shows that we are working in the right direction, so that's really good. We will now go to the vote, which is for item 11, which is the conditions to be split. Neil, you've agreed. Mandip has agreed that, and also for the addendum to be noted. Okay, I have a proposal which is Councillor Tuckwell. I have a seconder, which is Councillor Duncan. Councillor Chapman, do you agree?
Recommendation, Chairman, as agreed.
Those changes, yes. Thank you. Councillor Hagger.
Yes, for Chair, with changes.
Thank you very much. Councillor Melvin.
Yes, I'm for Chairman with the necessary changes.
Thank you very much. Councillor Morgan.
For, Mr. Chairman.
With the changes. Councillor Morse.
For, Mr. Chairman, as amended.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Santapori.
For, Mr. Chairman, as amended.
Thank you very much. I have that unanimous. Anil, is that correct?
Indeed so, Chairman.
Thank you very much. That finishes tonight's business on the majors. I'd like to thank you all for being present, and officers as well, and see you soon. Take care, everybody, and bye-bye.
Thank
Good
you.
evening. Good night.
Yeah, good night, everyone.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
See you soon,
Bye.
guys.
Goodbye.
Thank you.